Now, the government has pledged to relax restrictions on building onshore wind farms in England after a threatened rebellion from Conservative MPs. Yes, Rishi Sunak had previously opposed relaxing that ban, saying he wanted to focus on offshore wind farms. With more details, here's our environment correspondent, Jonah Fisher.
Take a look inside one of the cheapest and quickest ways of generating electricity. After years in which it's been almost impossible to build a wind turbine on English soil, change is in the air. And this turbine at Cefn in South Wales is being held up as an example of how it might be done.
What can you see up there, Gareth?
I can see all the way to the Brecon Beacons and the villages down there, Bargoed, Bargoed.
Those people who live closest to this turbine get discounts from their energy company when the wind blows.
So yeah, we've got the 4 turbines that we can see from our property.
Among them is Gareth. He lives just down the hill from Cefn turbine and keeps a very close eye on his app.
As long as the wind speed, so the turbine is blowing, we'll save 20%. Anything over 11, there's a 50% discount on that electricity then.
The Conservatives have long been divided over onshore wind turbines. In 2015, after local protests, David Cameron made it almost impossible to build them in England. Critics said they were unsightly, reduced house prices, and that the land should be used to grow food. Boris Johnson argues turbines will help economic growth and energy security. Liz Truss now backs them too. But when they were in office, the ban stayed. Rishi Sunak was against onshore wind in his summer leadership campaign, but with soaring gas prices and the falling cost of renewables, pressure for a change has been growing.
We would very much like to see a mindset almost being applied like we saw in the pandemic. We're in a national emergency when it comes to energy, and it's important that we do everything we possibly can.
The public might not need much convincing. Though divisive in the Conservative Party, opinion polls have consistently shown that people like onshore wind. The latest government survey shows that nearly 80% of us support onshore wind in a general way. But what if that wind turbine was going to be built near where we live? Well, the survey shows that 43% of us would be happy with that, with 12% unhappy, with the rest not expressing a view either way.
People pay a lot of money to live in the countryside, and then you do have these popping up everywhere, but I'm for them, yeah, 100% for them. I'd rather look at these all day than smog in the air.
With costs rising, would you live near a turbine if it meant money off your bill? Jonah Fisher, BBC News in South Wales.
Let's talk about the politics of this, shall we? Go live to Westminster and speak to Nick. And Nick, it seems like Rishi Sunak's kind of changed his mind on this. What does that tell us about the control he has over his own party, over his own MPs?
Hi John, morning to you. Yeah, look, I mean, Rishi Sunak said in the summer when he was standing to be Conservative leader that he would keep the effective ban on onshore wind. But it was a rebellion from his own MPs, including his predecessors, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, and some pretty prominent backbenchers in the Conservative Party, which basically forced him to do this. And it's interesting because it's not the first time he's been forced to do a sort of U-turn in the last few days. There was the housing U-turn on Monday when he was forced to water down some plans to introduce targets in England for house building for various areas. And I think it tells us that although Rishi Sunak is maybe in a bit more of a comfortable position than some of his predecessors were earlier in this year when we were covering constant crises in government, there are still some tensions in his party. There are still some Conservative MPs who are prepared to flex their muscles on things they're not happy about. And it does mean that the Prime Minister, yes, he's in control, yes, he's in a fairly comfortable position at the moment, but there are a few areas where there could be trouble for him, and he's not in a position where he can be completely certain that everything he wants to do will be doable. He's got a majority, but it doesn't always mean that he can do those things.